No, but the middle doesn't work. Even being in the middle doesn't work anymore. You may as well be poor because you're basically poor in the middle, but you're not willing to live like you're poor. At least when you're poor, you're willing to live like you're poor.
That's a mansion. That's a mansion. That's a mansion. That's a mansion. Like, they couldn't believe how big our housing was versus what they understood as like the size of housing where it's very expensive and very small.
Purpose-built rentals will take the place of why we were doing condo. Like, we were only building condos for rentals, so they were just cheap rentals for people. We had individual landlords managing them. They didn't know what they were doing. They caused lineups at landlord-tenant board. It was an absolute mess.
Word is out, man. The buyers right now are going, I'm taking advantage of this, and so they should. Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karish and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Welcome back. You guys, please be quiet. Welcome back.
Tom's talking. This is the Tom Storey Show.
To the Tom Storey Show.
You guys have an editor?
The only real estate podcast left on the internet for Canada. And speaking of used to be real estate podcasts, our guests today, Darryl Frankfort and TK Butler from the Under the Table podcast, formerly known as the Canadian Real Estate Show, formerly known as the Toronto Real Estate Show. Boys, they tell me that the third time is the charm. Have you figured it out now?
It's actually the fourth.
It's the fourth, right?
But we can't tell you about
what
the
I was
first.
thinking. Yeah.
What was the first name?
Doesn't matter.
My
It doesn't
God.
matter.
So
Let's
doesn't
just say
matter?
it was COVID born. And
What was it?
It ended with dicks.
Oh, right.
Did it really?
Yeah.
So we'll just leave it at that. All right?
Tom wouldn't do it. Tom, I asked Tom to introduce you guys as the Out of the Closet podcast today, and he wouldn't do it. So,
Oh, you know what?
It'd be
It's
true.
better
That's the
than
next
being in
name.
the closet. I heard.
that's the next name. I want you guys to know that we had you here today because this is our third birthday show.
No
You
way.
guys are such
Oh.
an amazing inspiration to us for our third
Look at us.
birthday. We couldn't think of a better guest.
We saw you guys doing it
Nice.
about a year and a half before us, and we thought if those guys can pull it off, we got a shot.
Anybody can.
And
yeah.
and
right.
look at us now, 3 years later, third birthday anniversary show, and we're excited to have you back. They've also said that Marvel hasn't been the same since the last Avengers movie. You know, a few box office bombs, but the next Avengers movie is coming out next year, and we had to bring the team back together to really lift this podcast back up. So
That's right.
So we're excited.
No one else has really come into the space, though. Really,
Not
A couple
consistently.
people have come in.
no. They just start a podcast. They do like 6-7 episodes, and then they're done. Like, there hasn't been somebody like you guys are 3 years now. We're 5. It's like, you know, there's nobody who's been able to just come in here and actually just do what needs to be done, which is just consistently release a new podcast every single week.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be good. Doesn't have to be long. Doesn't have to be fancy. It just you just have to release one every week.
You said doesn't have to be good, right? You made sure you put that in there because we that's
every
the formula, right?
Not every one of ours is good. I'm not going to be like, wow, everyone is
Yeah.
amazing. It's just we just talk. It's just us. Natural.
I listened
the
on
ones
the way
that
in. Hang on. I listened to on the way in to Tom on another podcast. A fellow named Adam does one, and it was a great. And I was like, Tom sounded super smart, and I was like, why can't you bring that to our show? Like, you
It's
save
easier
that
to
for
be a
other
guest.
people's stuff.
It's easier to be a guest because you can just talk. When you're a host, you kind of got to make sure the guests have a chance to talk. So I want to make sure our guests have a chance to talk.
I just told them to shut up and let me talk.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, we got 3 real estate agents and a developer, and all of us are a little bit shy, and we're not sure what we're going to talk about today. And TK's got a little bit of a throat issue that his throat's hurting him anyways. So Daryl, are you okay to talk?
to the first podcast that we did start. No relation. Okay.
Daryl, are you okay to speak a little bit more than normal today? Are you okay with that?
Normally I have a lot of trouble getting words out and having things to talk about. Generally, I'm really shy. So, I mean, I'll do my best, but there's no guarantees that I can keep a thought running continuously on and on and on and on long enough to cover for
That's
my
enough.
counterpart here, who will eventually cut me off anyways. So
That's
who
enough.
the hell
Right? That's enough.
cares?
We've heard enough. We know what the end of that is going to be.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we're going to start with Daryl, actually. We're going to get his talk time in early here.
Probably.
I have just been hearing so much about, well, I mean, hearing and what I'm actually seeing out there is that nobody wants these small condos. You post a video about it, you get a ton of views. That is the hot thing to talk about. They're not closing. When they are closing, nobody wants to buy. That is I didn't even notice that until right now.
Is that available in your merch store?
It will be. Includes tape.
For the audio listeners, you tune into this point on YouTube.
But here's my actual question, Darryl. You are currently in the midst of building a very high-end end-user condo building, or you're going to be launching it at some point, I would guess, in the next 12 to 18 months to 24 months.
Way less than that, yeah.
Why can't you as a developer make affordable units? Like, give the viewers and the people listening the actual, like, what are you dealing with? What's your profit margin? Why did you choose super high end? Is that the only way we get things built that makes sense?
Okay, well, the reason that I'm not building affordable is because I don't want to. There's no money in it, right?
Okay.
There's no incentive to build affordable units. There's a couple of schemes out there that make sense to somebody. I don't know who, but they seem to work on a few buildings, like that. What's it called? Homes for Humanity. There's a few things that seem to work that are pumping out affordable housing. But the reality is that there's so much work and so much risk and so many ways to not make money building these things that you really want to find something that's going to make money, right? So, I mean, one of the problems is that nobody really wants to build affordable housing. That's the honest to God truth. The developer, I mean, why would you do all this crazy shit if you were not going to make a ton of money at the end, or at least think you were going to, right? On top of all of the policy problems and the way financing works, the whole thing is a fucking mess right now. It's a disaster. Every part of it is a mess.
What type of incentives would the government have to offer a developer at your scale for you to even consider to do this? Like what would have to happen for people to want to build these type of properties? Because your project, so it's like we've got this weird thing. You're going to build a super high-end, beautiful end user focus, probably downsizers from Forest Hill that are going to buy in your building, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got the investor-only product that's these tiny little condos that we've realized right now nobody wants anymore.
No.
Why can't we build the middle part? That is like the 1,200 square foot family could live there, 3-bedroom condo that doesn't cost $3 million, but that costs $850,000. Why can't we build that?
The market needs time to kind of realign for that. I think at some point, and I think a few people are able to figure out how it works. The real problem is that people bought stuff based on that old way of doing things, and they're all caught with a lot of it. So a lot of it's coming down the pipe. A lot of it has been purchased and zoned and nothing can be done with. And because of the prices that you paid based on that scheme, you can't remodel it down to a point where people can afford what they want, which is space, right? People want space. They don't want those little things. And so what gets the wheels moving again in a market where it obviously doesn't make sense to the people who want to buy for themselves? How do you get those investors back into the market to build shitty product that nobody really wants, right? Or you can strip down all these additional costs and all this extra time, all these consulting things you need to get that are useless, shadow studies, traffic reports, wind studies, comments from this heritage committee, and then you could have lower interest loans from the government. Like, there's a million ways. It's just right now you got to be kind of crazy to buy that product. That's the honest to God truth, right?
Because it sounds like right now, at least the way the current system works is the smaller scale developers that's building the unique stuff like you're going to do versus the Tridells of the world that are going to build. Yes, they have some larger units, but they're expensive. But the way it works where you have to sell 70% of it, you kind of have to sell to investors. Like
that's a big part of the problem is the way the financing works. Because who the hell's buying something for 6 years out from now, right? I mean, that's a tough sell for, especially when it's your first place, is how do you time like that, right? So you needed that layer. It was just part of the way that it worked, and it worked until it didn't work. But if you really looked at it the whole time, it was a disaster waiting to happen, right? Because it was sell it to the first fool, and you have to sell it to at least one more fool, if not two, right? And that was just how it worked. It worked well, right? Because it was necessary for the banks or the financing. It's a big clusterfuck.
But Darryl, if it's like, okay, so I don't know. I'm not seeing the numbers that you guys see because I'm in the suburbs. But in my brain, I go, okay, they're going to try and sell $1,000 a square foot for a 500 square foot place. An end user is not going to buy that because they're not going to wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years for that 500 square foot place, because by that time they're married, they got kids, and the whole life has changed. So the end user is never going to buy it. Why don't they build 1,500 square foot 3-bed and den that the end user in 5 years is actually going to downsize into from their detached home? Because I mean, $1,000 a square foot, if you're getting the same price, why doesn't that work?
Where's their down payment come from? Right?
Like
now,
let's say
now you just went from somebody who can come up with $100,000, 20% down on $500K to 20% down on 1.5, $300,000 down payment without selling their home for 5 years. How many people have that? Right? It's easy for an investor to come up with a $100K line of credit or whatever and get that down payment necessary and the mortgage approval to get the financing. But it's like, who can wait 5 years? Who moves into one house and puts a down payment and says, "Don't worry, I'll move in 5 years later." There's no resale scenario that would ever happen. People just don't have the money.
Possibly. I think, though, if you're trying to sell, for instance, like a 1,500 square foot 3-bed and den, a really nice condo downtown, those are probably going to be sold to people that want to live downtown and have the means to do so, right? Like, I just think
in their house though, like
This is
300 grand just sitting in a bank account. 300 grand, no way.
Not everyone's like you, Steve.
Is he wearing a smoking jacket? What are you wearing, PK? What is that?
I was wondering that myself.
I'm in menopause, all right, right now, and I'm having hot flashes. And this is going to come off soon, and then it's going to go back on, all right? So just so you guys know, right now I'm sweating buckets.
He has a rash guard on underneath, just so you know.
And I have nostalgic merch.
Oh,
all right. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, that's the issue. That's the issue. It's like,
that's a big part of the issue for sure. That's a big part.
Even if they think it's worth 1.5 million, $1,000.
Well, hold on. But another part of that problem is that, at least in Toronto, $1,000, you can't launch for $1,000 a foot. You're losing money. You're done.
What do you have to launch at right now to make money?
What'd you buy the land for? When did you buy it? How much interest are you paying? Like,
but I need an answer. But give me an answer. Give me an average answer. 1,200?
I have no idea. There's so many factors, right? But I mean, people were launching. Yeah, I mean, I can't see not making money in the 1,200s right now, but it really depends on what you bought the land for. But again, it doesn't matter this number. No one's buying it. Not for 1,200, not even for 1,000. Like, people are putting out in the 8s, right? TK, didn't we talk about what?
There's some outskirts there that are now well below $1,000 a square foot. At least that's there.
New construction?
Yeah.
In Toronto?
No, like on the outskirts, 905s.
Okay.
Yep.
Then that's not concrete. Is that concrete, or is that?
They're all buildings that are high buildings. Like, they're all mid-rise to high-rise buildings. Yeah.
Okay, so we're stuck with dog crates then.
No. We're stuck with waiting out the guys who either something has to happen. Either somebody has to figure out how to get the investors back into the market to get all these units moving again, or somebody has to figure out or wait out the developers who will not be able to figure out how to reconfigure their buildings to sell at some ridiculous price so that the next guy can reconfigure the building and make money on the bigger units. But what TK's saying is like really a big part of the problem. Who the fuck can afford a $1.5 million house for their first house and wait 6 years for the damn thing to be built and have the down payment? Like, it's a tall order.
But the way it's done right now, and like we've seen this over the last 15 years, like we all, maybe Steve, you're not in this market, but like even when the market was hot, when these buildings would launch and actually be delivered, there was always some leftover inventory with the developers. And what were those units? Were they the junior 1-beds? Were they the 1-beds? No, those things sold out day one. They were the 3 bedrooms. Like, forever, nobody bought what we're now saying we need, because the way that you buy and the way that you build has to be focused on investors based on the current model. And I just don't know how that's going to change unless
I think you just highlighted the problem, Tom. Okay, we believe that there's a housing shortage. We believe that we do not have enough housing. We believe that we made too many small units. We believe that we don't have enough 3-bedroom units. Right? Go on the MLS right now.
Yeah,
lots of 3 bedrooms for sale.
Tons,
Why is nobody
actually.
buying them? Why is nobody buying them?
There's more than 500 3-bed condos for sale in the city of Toronto right now.
We love talking about it. We love saying,
Really?
well, yeah,
Yep.
We built the wrong inventory over the last few years. I can't believe it. Did we? Did we build the wrong inventory? I think we're just in a market correction right now, that people right now are not interested in buying anything, and that it's just a good storyline to put out there for people to say, well, we don't have enough 3-bedroom. That's why people aren't launching. If you had just got a 3-bedroom at $800 a square foot, you would be selling it right now. Would you? You know, like this is the reality. The reality is that how many people want to live in condos with families? You know, other parts of the world, it's very common. This is what it is. But how many people as Canadians are like eager to live in a condo forever? And if you're going to pay $1.5 million for a condo, why don't you just move to the burbs? There's
downtown, right? Exactly.
There's beautiful houses in Scarborough, Etobicoke, North York, even like
and
East
you're talking
York.
like 40th floor downtown core with your family. Like, have you been downtown Toronto lately? It is not a family-friendly zone.
This rhetoric about people who are like, well, we built too many small condos and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying I don't know. But I think that it's right now. It's just what the next thing is. Like, oh, because we did this is why we've got an issue. Because the housing shortage, the housing supply issue, can we all agree that that's fake news? Can we all agree that right now that with 30,000 listings on the market,
I think
places for people to live?
What I'd agree on is that the type of inventory we have doesn't directly correlate to the type of inventory people want to buy. I think we have a lot
the price point.
Well, of course, prices.
My area right now, I just looked up this morning, 126 listings, freehold listings in E10. 126. That's a lot. Yeah. You want to move here? You can buy a bungalow for $900,000. You can buy a 2-story for 1.2.
Take 25% off that price and start to see if things move, right?
I'm just saying, like, it's this, we've had this conversation over and over again, and I'm just questioning it. I'm just saying, like, is it really true? The government's all beating the drum is because everyone else is telling them, build more housing. We want housing prices to come down. We need more housing. We don't have people. We had a lot of foreign students and foreign workers and people living here temporarily, non-permanent residents. So like a lot of that's been cut off. Immigration over time, will adjust. There'll be different reasons where people want to live, stuff like that. We've got a low birth rate. You know what I mean? Like maybe we don't have a housing crisis. Go down to Florida right now. Go down to Florida right now and go on Realtor.com and see how many properties are for sale in Florida. Realtors are refusing listings. They're saying we're not even going to list your property because we have too many of these already.
People are refusing them here.
Well, but I was in Fort Myers 4 months ago, an area that we had visited every year to see the in-laws for the past 5 years. And it's this nice little suburb area that's all flat and like there's these beautiful parks. And we pushed the stroller around the street. I have never seen so many sale signs, and none of them said sold.
Yeah, it's like there's an election going on. There's so many signs all over the place.
There's no buyers. Nobody wants to buy there, right? But they said they needed more housing in Florida, and they needed. There's not enough beachfront. It's all a bunch of BS. It's all
marketing
based on it's based on today's data. And so, but what's today's data? Where's that demand coming from? If a bunch of people are speculating and buying condos down in Florida and all of a sudden we don't have enough of them anymore, sure, we're going to feel like there's a shortage.
Let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this. So if we don't have a housing shortage and that rhetoric has been BS, why are prices still so high?
Because people take a long time to adjust. And it's a very slow process. You're dealing with those clients right now, Tom. Okay. It takes a long time for people to finally say to themselves, okay, maybe my house is not worth what I think it is. And the people who are selling right now are the ones who are motivated. They're saying to their agent, what price do I need to put it at in order to get it sold? And their agent's saying the best price, right?
Lower than
was at 800, you're at 850, you got to be at 750 or whatever, right? So that's what it needs to happen, is those adjustments in sellers' expectations are going to have to come down because buyers are already there. Buyers are already waiting for the next. Buyer mentality is always going to be shop around, see what you can find. If there's, I see 3 houses this weekend and then 3 more come up. I don't want to buy one of those. I want to wait till I see the next 3 next weekend. and then
But
eventually,
TK, let me tell you, let me counter your point where you're talking about just this whole thing of, is it a myth? I don't think it's any sort of a housing shortage is a myth, because what we're seeing now is people crammed into spaces of which they can afford.
Your real estate website should work as hard as you do, and that's where Realty Ninja comes in to create a beautiful website that helps you convert online leads, that doesn't give you all these tech issues and will match with the brand that you already have. Steve's been using Realty Ninja for over 10 years, and we have a promo code for listeners of the Tom Storey Show. RealtyNinja.com/Tom will give you 20% off your first year, and you don't pay $1 until your website launches. RealtyNinja.com/Tom. And now, back to the podcast.
Right. So we're seeing, I'm in Surrey. We have I'm saying a lot of obviously foreign students still here, and they are cramming 6 and 8 people in 2-bedroom basement suites. And that's the only way they're making it happen. So we don't have affordable housing. We definitely need more housing. You think those guys want to come over?
Sounds like you need student housing. Sounds like the university should be building more student housing.
If they were actually here at real universities, that would probably be a problem. But they're here at fake universities, right?
Stop admitting, yeah.
But what we're seeing is, like, do you think those guys want to come over? Their whole family saves up all this money in, some rural part of India somewhere, and they send their kid here, and then he ends up wanting to shack up with 7 other dudes in some basement suite somewhere.
My dad had 8 brothers. My dad had 8 brothers. They rented out a 3-bedroom bungalow with an unfinished basement to another family to live in the living room, and their grandma and nanny lived with them all in that house in the 1950s and 60s.
Yeah.
Why are we so oh my gosh, you come to this country, you're going to find the cheapest possible scenario you can for housing, and you're going to be living with a bunch of people. I don't see how that's any different in any era.
Did you guys see there was that video that went?
And I'm only just sticking to my point here, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've got this huge amount of evidence to say that this is true. I just feel like we've been beating the drum of a housing supply crisis for a little bit too long, and I don't think it's as extreme as we maybe all once thought.
Did you guys see that video? It went semi-viral, whereas these 2 guys from England, and they were in the GTA, and I think they were driving around Markham. I don't know exactly where they were, but they were driving around looking at the houses, and they're like, that's a mansion, that's a mansion, that's a mansion, that's a mansion. They couldn't believe how big our housing was versus what they understood as the size of housing probably in London, England, where it's very expensive and very small.
Yeah, so it's touching each other.
Wait till the baby boomers sell their houses. 60% of the houses, right, are owned by the baby boomers. They're all living in 3,000 square feet. Just 2 of them. Wait till
they selling them, or are they just giving them to the kids, though?
They're selling them.
It depends what their situation is.
They're selling them. They're not very, very rarely am I dealing with somebody who's moving into their parents' house, unless it's a premier street in a premier neighborhood where they've always wanted to. They could never afford that house on their own, and they're finally, I get to move back into mom and dad's house. Yeah. But no, they're selling them. And that's when the shift will happen, where we'll have a much more efficient use of the housing stock that we already have, because the people who are averaging 1 to 2 people in their houses will turn into 3 to 4 people, where it should be in these big houses.
I just think you're going to end up in a spot here over the next little bit where you're going to have a certain amount of these foreign students stick, right? They're going to end up here, particularly in our area. And once a certain amount of them get their feet under them, they're going to want to buy as well. So I and then obviously we're going to go into a shortage where there's no starts happening, and then we're going to end up all in this all over again. Where we're really at right now is, what I'm noticing is the sellers are not willing to accept what the buyers are offering. The buyers, word is out, man. Word is out. The buyers right now are going, I'm taking advantage of this, and so they should. But
if they're willing to buy right now, yeah, they should.
If they're willing to buy, the offers that I'm getting in on property, we've got a lot of offers on a lot of our properties I want to say the last 7 days. Not one of them yet has come together, because the buyer's not willing to come up and the seller's not willing to come down. They end up that certain amount apart. And unfortunately, right now, I'm going to say that the buyers are likely going to be the ones that are correct, that if they do wait longer, they will get a better price down the road.
How far are they under the asking price?
Most of the offers coming in are between 8 and 10% under the asking price.
That's it?
And
They're lucky to
that's
be getting
under the
offers.
asking. That's under the correct. But we're also, most of our listings, because we generally won't take on a listing we don't think is saleable, are already under the last sale. So has the market come down in 30 days 10%? I don't think so. But there's a very good argument that some properties, particularly let's call it $1.5 million detached homes in my market, they could be coming down $1,000 per day.
I'm seeing huge hits in different areas right now. I'm seeing huge hits that are.
So wait 60 days. Go ahead. Wait 60 days. At $1,000 per day, you're going to sell for $60,000 less. So you should probably look at this offer right now at $50,000 under your asking price, but you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? It's the reality of what's going on. The problem is the offers aren't coming in $50,000 under the asking price. They're coming in $150,000 under the asking price, and we can't get them up to that level. So the market kind of comes to a stalemate. And unfortunately for buyers, most sellers aren't in as big of a panic as they wish they were. Now, there are buyers out there right now that are doing the work to try and find out who is. But what I'm noticing is those buyers, and unfortunately their agents, are usually ending up buying a worse property because those sellers are more eager to get rid of those properties, I find. So I'm seeing people buying what I think is a really good deal, but now they're going to end up in a poor property, and they're setting the value now at a certain level. And then the good properties are going to be measured against those poor properties in the future. Right. So I see a bunch of weird stuff selling, but realistically, I don't think the sellers are seeing the blood in the streets, if we're going to call it that. And it's kind of here. It's starting to trickle into the streets a little bit right now.
So far, all I've really seen bloody wise, really, other than a few big development sites, is like the odd, area where, of course, you shouldn't have paid that much for that house. Like you'll see a post where it's like, why the fuck was anybody ever paying that much for this? Who the hell was the appraiser? Who was the lender on this? Who was the mortgage? Like, how crooked was this deal? This is crazy, right? This should never have happened. Right. And so the problem is that we got into like this 2-year period where there's a lot of that. Right. And so like TK is saying is people hang on for dear life for as long as they can, especially in Canada. And then as long as you can, technically, I think is like 90 days past the point of really when you can't, because that's when the default kicks in. Right. After you stop paying your payments for 90 days, that's when they start to sue and come after you. So really, like the writing's been on the wall for God knows how long, as they've been inching towards the impending doom, and they're just still always hoping at the last second that something will happen, right? And so we're starting to see those ones, the early ones that just couldn't hang on anymore. Because I mean, how hard do you try and hold on to lose $500,000 on a house in Brampton, for fuck's sakes, right? That wasn't even new. Right?
But that's not the majority, though, of the sellers right now that I'm experiencing anyway. The majority of the sellers that I have owned their real estate for a very long time. And sure, they're going to sell for 10 or 15 or maybe 20% below peak prices. And they're not willing to do that. So they're not actually that hurting.
No,
I find the most motivated people are the people that bought only 2 or 3 years ago, and they're going, okay, you know what, I lost, let's move on, just give me an offer. It's the people that are like, well, I bought this thing for $200,000. And, I want it to be worth $600,000 or $650,000, but now it's only worth $550,000. That's a lot of money for me. So now I'm not willing to sell it for that much. And eventually you're going to sell for $499,000.
You know what always shocked me is that whenever I meet with sellers that inherited the house, they're the most like, well, I can't sell it for that.
Yeah.
I'm like, you were given this for free because of where you were born, like to who you were born to. Like, what do you mean?
But I owe my bookie $500,000 and the drug dealer $500,000. Like, I got to get this money, man.
All right. I got one of those on the market. Yeah. I got one on the market. It's been on the market for a while.
I always find that interesting. It's like
where do these numbers come from?
Right. But what do they care? They can wait. They got it for free. Right?
They don't need the money. Yeah. They don't need the money. Yeah.
All right. There was a report that came out that said that the new home sales hit a record low in Toronto, and this is only new homes. And it's like going back to 1990 when we were in a really, really shitty real estate market. Darryl, you are a new home builder, right? That is a title that you can take on. I'm reading this and going like, me seeing this headline kind of just shows me, well, who's even launching? What new homes are there to buy? And in 5-10 years from now, isn't this just telling me that prices might get worse? Like in terms of an upward trending direction, if no one's buying new now, we're not building anything. Am I reading that incorrectly? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, first, I mean, the normal everyday product, I can't see not going down first before whatever brings it up again at some point. I mean, at some point, it's going to start coming back up again, right? Who's launching? I think all I really see is townhouses around here launching. Those seem to do fairly well from what I'm gathering. Anything high-rise, mid-rise, like 150, 100 units, like forget it. Nobody's doing anything. People are having trouble, I think, just getting rid of whatever inventory they have left at the moment. But I'll tell you, the one thing, thank God, that is still moving and doing very well dollar-wise per square foot and climbing is the high-end boutique luxury market. Okay. I mean, I do know what it is. It's a different buyer. They have a different mentality. They have different time horizons and timelines, abilities to look, longer term.
They're ready. They're ready to buy. That's
a lot of them are ready to buy.
They're at that age. The money's there. They're not going to.
They probably don't need a mortgage.
They don't
need
a
mortgage for sure. No, not even thinking about it.
Because of the market right now, I couldn't care less what I do because I'm ready to move into a condo.
Well, and I want that, and I'm going to be ready for it in about this many years. And if I got to hold my house and this at the same time, I don't give a shit, right? It doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure I get that, right? And so thank God there's not very much of that. And thank God I have the best one out there possible because it's in such a great, unique spot. And I'm just lucky and maybe smart and maybe a combo of the two. But thank God, because if I had the site that I had on Kingston Road a few years ago, I'd be cooked right now. I would be embarrassed. I'd be off of YouTube in embarrassment because I'd be done.
You kind of have to look at your business right now. Like, are you guys aware of what LVMH is? That's the big conglomerate that owns Louis Vuitton. They own about 15 watch brands. They're sponsoring all the F1 stuff now, like Tag Heuer, and a million watch brands are under that umbrella. All the high-end stuff. They're doing amazingly well selling luxury products right now.
Even after that whole China thing that happened?
All I'm just saying is, like, you look at their numbers, they're one of the biggest companies in the world.
Yeah, they're
this high end, and then you look at like this middle group, and I'm not talking about like the Walmart stuff, but the middle group. Like, I think the Bay would probably fall into that middle group. They just got wiped out. They were the longest serving company we've ever had in Canada. I mean, they were around way before Canada.
They were going down 20 years ago.
I'm not saying that's exactly it, but it's interesting, right? And like all these markets, people are still lining up to buy Rolexes.
Yeah, the middle doesn't.
But they might not be buying the Timex
and those type of things, those type of collector stuff. But those purses, the women buying the purses specifically, has not changed. Those guys are doing good, and those purses are more money than ever. Right?
No, but the middle doesn't work. Being in the middle doesn't work anymore. You may as well be poor because you're basically poor in the middle, but you're not willing to live like you're poor. At least when you're poor, you're willing to live like you're poor. And at least in development, the two things that work right now is like cheap rental and high-end luxury.
Hey, podcast listener, if you're looking to buy or sell a property in Surrey or the Fraser Valley, you have to reach out to Steve Garish, my co-host. As much as we make fun of each other on this show, the truth is that I do this podcast with him because he is reliable. He has an opinion. He knows what he's doing. He has a ton of experience. And although I have never personally sold a home with Steve, if I were and I was in that area, he would be my number one choice. And let's be honest with each other. As much as he has a hard exterior on the show, he's a little bit of a softie once you get digging a little bit deeper. So you can reach out to Steve. It's link in the description. I hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Right. And so after this wave of extra stuff we have going on right now and the obvious glut that's coming down the pipe, like what's going to be when the only two things that work for people that have to build the shit is super high end little boutique-y stuff, which like for mine, for example, it's 24 units. It'll probably end up being like 18 at the end of the day as people combine units. Like that doesn't help anything, right? That doesn't help anything, right? And so if that's all that works and that's all that people are putting out there, like what happens in 4 years? And I'm not trying to be like a bearish developer. I'm just saying, like, at some point, somebody's going to figure out how to absorb all these units that are kicking around, I think, right? And then at some point after that, nobody's built anything for 4 years. So what happens then, right?
I spoke to a lady this morning that called me, and she had bought Precon in 2021. And I wasn't even going to talk about this today, but like I just had this conversation half an hour ago. And she bought at this building in downtown Toronto, a 2-bed, 2-bath, 713 square foot, paid $1.1 million. No parking. So that's roughly $1,500 a square foot. And she's like, how long until it's worth what I paid? And I'm like, oh, like, I think 10 years.
Yeah, never.
Like, yeah, maybe never. But I'm like, I think that's a long time. And she was like, well, most people are telling me 5 years. I'm like, I'm an optimistic guy about the market. Like I try to tell it how it is, but I try to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But like, I don't think that's ever gonna, like, resales at like $900 a square foot. Resale's got to move up for yours to ever be worth what you paid for it. Like, I don't know.
What made the new stuff worth so much more than the current stock? Like what did that?
FOMO and developers and lines outside and low interest rates. I don't know. I've been saying it didn't make sense forever.
Yeah.
Me and Steve have been saying
made
Precon was dumb since 2019. No one listened to us.
Yeah. Let's talk about Precon Agents. Like, what do they do with their lives now?
They're in Costa Rica.
Where do they go from here?
They're good.
So Darryl and I were talking about like commercial agents, right? Like certain commercial agents. A guy called me up yesterday and he was telling me, he goes like, these commercial agents, man, like and he's a residential guy. He's like, oh, how am I going to ever get into these deals? They're never going to want to work with me and all that kind of stuff. I said, these commercial guys are desperate right now. If they said that they were selling industrial before, you're going to see them with a multifamily building now because they got a client who's willing to sell multifamily. If they have got some sort of land, assembly or development experience, now you're going to see them selling retail commercial down on Kingston Road because they don't have anything else to do, right? But at least they've got the skill set and the client base in order to be able to go into another area of commercial real estate and still make some money. But the pre-construction guys, where do they go?
The pre-construction guys, there's some that have tapped out. Right.
What do they do?
Definitely. They made a ton. They made a lifetime killing worth of money. The ones that weren't stupid and didn't buy all the expensive vehicles and everything. But we're seeing all those people trying to get into resale.
Yep.
And now they're moving from this, what I consider, I shouldn't say fake world. It's not my world of real estate. My world of real estate is resale. But like these things where they're just going to walk into a sales center, drink the coffee while the person at the front desk writes up their client. Like that's not what this market is, but they're trying to do that now, and they're trying to look like the authority, but most of them have only been in the business 2, 3, 4 years, and they just look like fools.
I can tell you, because I've had conversations with these people, and they've got about 1.5 years of commissions to be collected if those properties close.
Yeah.
How many years
and there's going to be clawbacks.
Yeah.
So,
how many
listen,
clawbacks are included in
right?
that?
So that's what I'll say is my first thing. The second thing, and I chuckled at this, is like I was at something recently, like this mastermind event, and there was this big Precon agent on stage, and they were talking to him about pre-construction, and he's like, and by the way, this isn't Jordan.
He's in Costa Rica.
Jordan's in Costa Rica.
Jordan's the smartest guy from Toronto.
Yeah,
ever.
drops a YouTube video once a month, gets 100,000 views, and takes another flight. And so, but this agent, I was watching it, being like, this is kind of funny to me. They're like, yeah, our team's starting to think that we might start dabbling in the resale market. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're in for. Yeah. You have no idea how much different this is. You're really going to have to work for it. The commissions are lower. You got more expenses up front. Like, good luck dabbling in the resale market.
That's what I was thinking when TK was saying that different agents have the ability to move into different fields. It's like the ones that are already in the fields that they're supposed to be in are horrific. Most of them are horrific to deal with. They don't have a fucking clue. It's unbelievable how bad most agents are. And now what you have is you have them all flying into areas they don't understand even more than the last area that they pretty much didn't comprehend at all. right? And so now you got like this, and there's so many of them here that are trying to figure out how to make the next buck, right? It's got to be insane, and it's the same thing. It's trickling all over the place. Like we just saw one of the big marketing companies in Toronto that won awards for miles, right? They just called it quits, and these
was
are
that
not
LA
old
something?
guys. Yeah, LA.
Yeah.
So these guys, I just met with them a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, maybe a couple months ago, and they're like pitching and trying to get work, and they're not old guys. They're like maybe in their 50s and or maybe early 60s, but a lot of left in them. But they're not calling it quits because it's the time to call it quits. They're calling it quits because there's nothing to fucking do, and it looks better to call it quits than to go down, right? Mm-hmm. We see this. We saw Norm Lee, one of the top rendering guys on the planet, was very out and open about the idea that he was rejigging his business because who the fuck is buying renderings right now? Especially his that were like 7,000 a pop or something, right? And just me being out there looking for someone to do my project with as a partner or as a hired gun, you see people that would never ever normally entertain this stuff being more than willing because what they have they can't do anything with, and they can't figure out what the fucking next move is because it doesn't work as a rental. They can't rejig the unit sizes, and the only thing left is to like try and get more financing and try and get more height, which may prolong the process, right? Keep things going, maybe get a better valuation from somebody. But again, until somebody trips the switch that gets sentiment back, right? All these tricks and policies don't matter when sentiment is good, right? When everybody's got that FOMO back in the market, right? And that comes back. I just don't know what it takes because we're so beaten down right now over the last few years, right?
What do you mean, Darryl? Do you think the semi-removal of GST off of new houses, off of 500 square foot apartments for first-time homebuyers isn't going to move the needle for us?
Well, no, but listen, I think it ends up being a combination of things that just eventually something just tips that scale back, right? So like if you're saying prices are going down $1,000 a day, whether that's right or wrong, but let's say we can all agree that they're going down regularly right now, and enough people buy into that, and enough people start going, shit, like I should buy something now. It makes sense. So then other people jump in, right? And other people jump in, and just once people start going, hey, you see like a bunch of sold signs over there. Did you hear? Like once the whisper in the background goes more positive, because right now, I mean, how many good conversations do you have that you can't talk about on the show, right?
So many.
Oh my
Right?
God. I have had some stuff recently I wish I could talk about.
Well, we're seeing that playbook right now, though, with so there's a brokerage in my market that has about 10% of the overall agents for the whole board. And I'm seeing those are the agents, because that's a lot of agents. Those are the agents that are writing offers on our properties, and it's the same playbook. I know what's happening. I know where the offer is going to come in. I know where the offer is going to stop. I know how poorly written the contracts are. It's the same. And you're right. The same thing's going to happen on the other side. Whenever that changes, whenever that office gets wind that the market's kind of picking up, that's going to be the one that pushes it up, right? Because you're going to have these, 500 agents or 10% of the marketplace all saying the same thing to their clients at the same time. And it's going to be, here's where I think we have some saving grace. Let's say, for instance, we go from a $600,000 place and it goes down to $450,000. Let's say it even goes down to $400,000. Let's say we lose 35%. It's easy now to get back to the 600, right? It would be tough to go from 600 to 950, but it's pretty easy to go from 450 back to 6. And I think that's what's going to happen. The question is, how long is that going to take? And the sellers that I'm talking to are hoping that's in 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, guys, that is not the case right now.
Back in 2009, when the market dried up and everything disappeared, I mean, if you look at the prices I sold things for, you think the market completely tanked. But the reality is that, for all the people that didn't have to sell then, nothing happened in the market because like 12 months later, prices were back again. A year later, they were up like another 10, 12%. Right. I'm not saying that that's going to happen now, but it's happened before. I don't know what the catalysts are. We don't know what the catalysts really are until we get to look back a few years and go, oh, like it was a combination of all this stuff, right? And that's what we're doing now. We're looking back going, wow, it's a combination of all this stuff that really fucked this thing up really badly, right? I talked about it a few times. It's like you weren't allowed to have assignments on condos at the beginning, right? So there was none of the speculation. The guy who bought it was the guy who was moving in and closing on this thing, right? Because it was explicit that you were not allowed to trade it. And if you were, you needed permission from the builder, right? Or the developer. And so, I mean, imagine just unlocking the assignments in the condo market in Vancouver and Toronto, what that did to pricing. Just right there.
Well, here, I don't know about Vancouver, the city of Surrey, not almost. Any good developer will not let you assign. So they close, everybody pays the property transfer tax and all their fees, and then they hire. Like we have almost zero assignments going on.
It was how they were marketing properties in Toronto. Like free assignments was on the sales.
That was the top of the list.
It became a thing. Yeah. But I think that we're talking about shortages, and I think Tom was mentioning about what happens when we don't have properties that should be sold today, pre-con being built 5 years from now. Purpose-built rentals will take the place of why we were doing condo. Like we were only building condos for rentals. So they were just cheap rentals for people. We had individual landlords managing them. They didn't know what they were doing. They caused lineups at the landlord-tenant board. It was an absolute mess. And so now we're going to have professional property management companies managing all our rental buildings. There's going to be more purpose-built rentals built. There's the highest number of purpose-built rentals right now under application than we've had in how many years, right?
Is it anywhere close, though, to the numbers of condos we were building, though? Like, I get what you're saying.
We didn't need that, but we didn't need that many condos, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out that, right? Because like I said, there's going to be a shift in the stock, right? As where people are living and how many people actually need to be living in their own space, and that we're going to find out that whether there is or not a housing shortage.
If you need insurance, you need to go where I go, squareone.ca. At squareone.ca, you can get a quote done in just a matter of minutes. If you're a tenant, landlord, or a homeowner and you need a policy, go to squareone.ca, or better yet, go to squareone.ca/The Tom Storey Show and save $20. That's squareone.ca/The Tom Storey Show for your discount on home insurance right now.
Right? But right now, you have to focus on, being in this environment. And this environment is very similar to the 90s. In the 90s, this exact conversation was happening in the early 90s. The exact conversation. People would say, what's going to happen? All those condos we built at the end of the 80s, all those people who paid all this kind of money, now no one wants to buy condos anymore. We're not going to have enough of those condos later on. No, it took 20 years for us to say we need more condos. We didn't need more condos. It was fine. We had enough housing for everybody. And the 90s market was over a decade. With inflation, it's 20 years. And that's the market that we're in right now. I'm not going to say I know 100% because nobody does, but I guarantee you that we've got a major shift in Canadian real estate that's coming that our generation is going to experience now for the first time. And it's going to do us a lot of good because real estate doesn't always go up. And that the people who got hurt were brainwashed to think that real estate always goes up and that they can pay any price. Do you know how many scams there are right now on real estate? How many people?
You not just see the guilty verdict that came out from Fortress?
Yes.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
Darryl, you would know more about that than any of us. But it came out that the two guys were guilty for scamming people for a Winnipeg project and another one.
Barry, it's all kinds of...
That's just because it's illegal to sell real estate in Winnipeg because it sucks so bad there.
Because you're so dumb if you do.
Who invests in Winnipeg, right?
What's Winnipeg?
Right?
Meanwhile, it's the hottest market in the country right now. It is like on fire. 15 offers on everything.
Yeah, Winnipeg houses are going crazy right now.
It's $200,000.
All 5 of them.
Okay, but
the market's flooded.
I actually want to try something new here. I'm going to put something on the screen. It will cover our faces, but we'll still be able to hear the audio.
Are you talking about the Fortress thing still, or were we skip?
Oh, you know what? No, we'll go Fortress first. Why don't you give the people listening a recap on what happened there?
Well, Fortress was just basically a big scam. They acted as developers. They paid incredible commissions to people to get a class of, well, it seems like the class that's targeted the most. It's like older, uneducated investors, with a couple of bucks lying around. And they put it into really bad projects and made promises and valuations based on nothing. It was just a big boiler room, basically, right? And so a couple of well-known economists, figured it out and took it to heart and started trying to help the authorities get to the bottom of things. And they finally, I don't even know when this came out. This must have come out
2015.
Yeah, like I remember calling that Vince Petroza guy trying to buy a property he owned on Charlotte Street, I think 47 Charlotte. And I remember it was like, this whole thing doesn't even make any sense. But my mentor made me call everybody. So he was on the list, right? And I just remember going like, this guy's numbers don't jive. I'm kind of afraid of this guy. I'm not going to call him again. Right. But this was the thing. There was just these guys who had big balls and good lawyers, I guess, and were willing to fuck people out of money. It seems like there's quite a few of these guys. And it seems like from our investigative journalism that we do on our show.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You remember that? We helped bust that guy, though. We actually got that guy.
Did you really?
Along with, of course. Within like a week of us airing, he got the Securities Commission shut him down.
Yeah.
Look at you guys go. All right.
I heard
when you
somebody
get this many views on a podcast,
I heard somebody kidnapped him and made him pay back all the money too, but that was just like what I heard. I read it in the comments. But
wasn't that Ms. Rahi? That was Ms. Rahi.
It may or may not be true. I'm just saying. The
comments are always true. So
it may not have happened. It may not have happened.
That's right.
All right, I'm going to show you something.
Big scam, and now they've been.
Tom wants to show us his graph, Daryl. He wants to show us our graph.
He loves graphs.
He wants to cover our faces.
He wants
to cover your faces.
Okay, let's see.
Marshall from How I Met Your Mother. He just loves graphs. Can't get enough of them.
Okay. So
Tom, your turn.
If you're listening on audio, I would highly recommend pop over to YouTube to watch this part of the podcast because this is my own data. So you guys can all see this, okay?
Yeah, hang on. Let me blow it up here.
Toronto condo market months of inventory by unit size.
Okay. So this is my own chart. I pulled this number myself. I will be doing a video on this on my main channel that may come out before this, but this is the first time I've showed this to anybody. So basically what this is it's giving you the months of inventory based on the size of the unit. So starting at 0 to 500 square feet, which would be the bachelor units, 5 to 599, going all the way down. And it's showing in the last 30 days. So the 30 days I basically did was like pretty much the month of May. That's what this data is coming from. But when the real estate board reports on this, they don't break it down by square footage or number of bedrooms. They just do general area months of inventory. So I was like, okay, this is City of Toronto and it's only condo apartments. But what it is showing us is that, and this isn't like news to anybody, but smaller units under 500 square feet have 12.7 months of inventory.
Yeah.
So
it'd be great if this had the amount of units available in each category.
I have all that information, and I'm happy to put that in the description of this video if people want to go take a look.
What's the percentage? What's the percentage on the blue?
The percentage is showing based on this month's of inventory. This is the percentage of these properties that will sell in the next 30 days.
Percentage of these properties that will sell.
That will successfully sell. So if there's, 12.7 months of inventory and we took a test in grade school and we got 1 out of 12.7, it would be 7.9%. Yep. So it's just interesting. And Daryl, this might actually be good news for you. If you look over here on the right side of the chart, 1,600 square feet to 2,000 square feet has less than 5 months of inventory. And this is active resale condos.
Yeah, and, this has no effect on me. I can see the trend just from my living that, of course, people want bigger, and anybody willing to buy, like, this is the time to buy bigger for sure, right? Because
2,000 plus units.
This is the time to get a deal.
Are probably older and high maintenance fees.
And the 2,000 plus square foot goes up to 5,000 square feet. It's such a massive range, but a low volume of actual listings that
That's why I wanted to see how many is because I'll bet you as it gets bigger, the number of units shrinks considerably from the rest of the.
But those people list those $5, $6, $7 million condos and they're way overpriced and they're just sitting on the market for years. Like it's,
I can tell you of at least as of us recording this today, there is only 141 listings for condo apartments that are 2,000 square feet or bigger.
141.
And in the last 30 days, only 14 have sold. So it shows 10 months of inventory because it's a high price point.
So where is this though? Downtown or GTA?
No, this is 416 area code, City of Toronto.
416. So that's even worse. I mean, you have young kids. You want to move them into the GTA in the 30th floor of a building in a 3-bedroom? Like, is this ideal? I guess for some people.
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. I guess for some people.
We're talking about 416. We're not talking about 905. We're talking about 416.
416 for the most part. You're talking height and not like a quaint little inside a neighborhood kind of deal. But right? You're like on Main Street, fucking buses and gangs and God knows what. It's Toronto now.
But if you're looking at those numbers, and I'll put it up one more time, it's pretty clear to me that the 800 square foot to 2,000 square foot, I know that's a massive range, it's not good. It's still a buyer's market, and you could see downward pressure on prices, but it's nowhere near probably what's going to happen to the 500 square feet and lower segment of the market. That is a really, really tough part of the market that it will continue to go down in price if, this is the big if this months of inventory remains for the next 6 months to a year.
Mm-hmm. And when do you say no to a client? Like, when do you say, hey, I just can't list your property? Like, it's just, you're not, right? You're not in the zone.
I met with someone this morning and I showed him this chart and we went over the numbers, and my recommended price was about 50 grand lower than what he wanted to sell for. And I just basically said, like, I'd love to get you this price. I would be wasting your time if we listed right now. But then the hard part is, like, in that segment of the market,
I'd be wasting your time.
It is, but
you'd be wasting your time.
Well, we'd both be wasting our time.
Waiting by his phone, looking at showings.
I gotta let you go.
Tom, did you call me? Tom, did you? Oh, I thought you called me. No, you didn't call. Okay. All right. Sorry, I thought you called me. Is there showings? There's no showing. Okay, there's no showings.
There's no show. I'm calling with an update that there's no update.
Sorry.
Hope you're doing good.
All right.
I saw a missed call from you.
If there's any showings, let me know. I know I said 2 hours before. We'll do 1 hour notice. Okay.
Oh, sorry. That was a pocket tile.
This is the real conversation.
Oh my god.
Those are real conversations. I need 48 hours notice for any showing. And 2 weeks in, they're like, we can let you show in 20 minutes if you want.
If that's the problem. If it's the 48 hours thing, like, we can do 12 hours, 24 hours. The dog can go to my sister's house. Don't worry.
I'm standing with the key in the door waiting for you right now.
But freehold houses, I think, are different. Still 70% of the Toronto inventory is condos. So freehold houses is probably a different conversation. You can probably go a little high and come down. It's going to be okay. But in this situation with this condo, it's like waiting 12 to 18 months. You could be in a much worse spot. It's not going to get better. I can tell you for certainty.
18?
For the seller, do you think the seller of a 2-bedroom condo downtown is going to be worth more in a year from now? No.
No way. No evidence.
No way.
We're talking about houses now.
No, houses are their own separate category that I have much different feelings on long term in the market. But
what's your feelings on houses, though, Tom? Because I don't think a year from now anybody's better off.
No, I don't think.
We have too much bad debt to get rid of. The economy's got too much bad debt. Unemployment's going up. Everybody's very like, I don't want to spend money right now.
I don't think a year from now anything's going to be different.
My wife, she's not saying that.
Well, just to make a note here, like Tom, Steve, and I, predominantly on our interactions with clients are sellers, right? I would love more buyers right now. I would love a long list I'll trade all my sellers for half the amount of buyers, and I will do more business this year.
Which is opposite to everything we've ever been told in our real estate careers up to this point, right?
I was saying that forever. If you want to take the time and go back to the beginning of our show 5 years ago, the
initial name,
the original Toronto Real Estate Show, but we talked about it. I've said for a long time that that people should be focusing on the buyers, because the buyers it's a harder job to do, and list to last and all that fucking nonsense. But that's where the real juice is, especially in times like this, right? Especially in times like this, to be known as the buyer's agent. But
what I've noticed is my buyers give me more referrals than my sellers. And it's not because I do a better job or worse job or anything like that. It's the relationship I have with my buyers is
You
so
see them
much
more.
deeper.
Yeah, you
I
see them way
them.
more.
I'm with them. We go for lunch while we're showing houses.
Yep.
We spend so much time together. We're in the same car together.
You do
there's
more work.
10 times more FaceTime with them than a seller. And they feel like they know me and they get to know me. And that I become part of their family and they refer me out to more people than sellers do.
Buyers are more work, but I do think, and I'll stand by this, an unskilled realtor can be good with buyers. It takes a much more skilled realtor, even if there's less actual work involved, to be a listing agent. That's how I feel about it.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It's probably true.
It's just more time invested on the buyer side.
For sure.
I want to, Tom, talk about this because we're getting really sick of. So for anybody listening, TK has an uncle. His name is Ron.
Uncle Ron. We've banned him from all family events, though.
Right.
He's not.
I mean,
he's
stop whining.
Just own him. I'll just tell him he's
whining.
He is related by blood. Okay.
He coined the term, or at least he's the one that runs away with it now, which is, what is it? Dog crate condos?
Can I tell you a new one, Steve, that someone commented on my video last week?
They called, and I would like to hear it. Anything
under 500 square feet, they called it a fart box.
So here's where we're at. I've worked really hard yesterday with ChatGPT. We need a new dog crate doesn't work anymore. Okay. So I have 20 names. If you're following along in the comments, please either type in your favorite or bring up a new one. We would love to hear what you're going to call these 450 square foot things that nobody wants, formerly known as dog crates. So there's 20 of these. So I'll try and go quick. Number 1, poverty pot. No. Gentrified shoebox. That's easy. Equity-free escape room. That's kind of fun. 0.3 bedrooms of regret. Vertical prison cell. This is number 6. Number 6 is, did you hear that? Vertical prison cell. Yeah. Number 6 is the financial hamster wheel. Number 7, 1 bedroom regret. That's kind of similar to the other one. Thanks, ChatGPT, for working so hard. Here, man, AI just isn't there yet. Regret cube. That's kind of okay. How about number 9, the bachelor's cry closet? Number 10, I'm a big fan of. $600,000 air fryer. Number 11, the pre-foreclosure capsule. Number 12, I feel like I'm David Letterman here. I need like somebody presenting these. We should have taken a list here and made it look like there are.
Number 12.
Number 12.
We need a chart.
Open concept sadness unit. Number 13, sky high sardine can. Number 14, ROI question mark LOL. Number 15. Number 15, Daryl's going to love this one. The investor's wet fart. Number 16, also Daryl's favorite, landlord's fleshlight.
Oh my goodness gracious! What's wrong with your ChatGPT?
It knows Steve too well.
It learns.
What are you talking about with this thing?
Search history. Yeah.
Number 17, negative cash flow coffin. Number 18, developer's donation box. Number 19, back in Daryl's wheelhouse, the financial fuck box.
Oh God, why am I associated with all these horrible names?
Because these are words you use.
Your reputation.
I actually used your ChatGPT.
No.
Yeah, assume Daryl is naming these. Give me 20. Yeah.
And number 20, the Hope Shrinker 5000.
Hope Shrinker.
So those are our new names. Let us know which one is the best.
What was 15? I wrote down
vertical
15.
prison box. Vertical cell.
Number 15 was the investor's wet fart.
It was?
I thought you'd like that one.
What was 14 then? What was 14?
Steve, do the 20 again, would you?
Oh, that was the one. ROI question mark,
LOL.
That's
developer donation box too, really is what it is, right? It's because somebody's buying that unit as just basically like saying, hey, I will make sure that your project can be built, Mr. Developer, because otherwise, without my contribution and the other 200 people buying similar useless units like me, you can't build, right?
But like we got to this point because of the actions of the investors. They made all these tiny condos because they knew instead of selling 5 2 or 3 bedroom units, they can sell 12 of these tiny ones and collectively make more money doing it with the same amount of space. Like, we put ourselves in this position.
It's the financing.
Okay.
The financing dictates that you have to sell a certain amount of units. Reality dictates that those people that actually want to move in are not the people that will give you the money at that time in the process, right? So creativity needed to come up with a way to get that money so that the projects could happen, or they wouldn't be happening. Right. So, I mean, the Condo Act changed, and I don't know what else changed, but a bunch of stuff changed, and the incentives pushed developers away from purpose-built rental into condo. And then I'm telling you, that assignment thing just wrecked the market, because at the beginning they were building condos for people that were going to buy the condos. So the unit mix was reflected in that. But now, when all of a sudden 98% of the purchasers want 450 square foot fart boxes, right? What are you going to build? What are you going to
also
offer?
The numbers, the ROI before it was ROI LOL, actually made the most sense on those tiny units to purchase them and what you could rent them for per square foot.
Never. It was,
but they made the most. Well, of course, but they still made the most sense compared to some of the larger units. If you were a pure investor. I'm not saying it was good, but it was better than the others.
They never cash flowed.
Darryl, where was price per buildable on land 10 years ago?
10 years ago. What year is it now? 2020. So when I started, I was offering people like 75 to $100 a foot.
Nobody was more than 100
downtown. No one was. Like maybe a zone site would be like 125 in the downtown core then, right?
So that became the issue, is that the price of land became too expensive because the developers were buying it because they could sell it for more, and they jacked up all the prices because there was an opportunity to make money, and they were right. Yeah. They made money. That's where we're going to start to see the biggest change. That's like an immediate thing. Right now, nobody's buying development land. And whatever price you paid in the last few years, you're screwed. You're out. Unless you can build it and finish it, nobody's going to buy that site off you. And that most sites right now, you can't do pre-sales. So really, all those buildings will eventually get built just by somebody else. Another developer will eventually come in. It'll go into receivership. It'll move on. Somebody will build down over the next 20 years. Someone will build on that site because it's assembled already. It's good. The planning's done. But those prices on land are going to see major drops. They've already had.
Here's my final.
Will get smaller too, I would imagine.
Here's my final question. In 10 years, are we going to learn anything? Even if we allow foreign buyers to come back and start buying some of the new construction stuff based on the current system and how this works, is anything? Cyclical. Are we learning anything? Or are we just eventually the demand comes back and we do this again?
Hopefully we learn that condos don't work. Hopefully
because they already did this. Like in my market, you had this kind of 4, 5, 6, 7 like pre-sale stuff, and then everybody that completed in 09 through, let's say, 2012, they were all underwater, and they were all underwater by a much larger percentage than they're underwater by now. And by 2015, when the market kind of turned around in detached, and then 16 into the condo market, the people flooded back. And now those are those victims at this point in time. Like if you're going to buy a pre-sale, now's probably the actual smart time to do it, because some of these prices start to make sense of where they're not astronomical, or at least here in our market. We sold a pre-sale last week.
To buy the assignments or from the developer leftover inventory right before. So you find the building that you want as an end user, find the building that you want to be in. I had a client buy one recently where they said, we tried to buy it 5 years ago and it was sold out. And we were ready.
Now you got options.
The person, they said
that's 20% less.
They made it sound really sad. They're like, due to unfortunate circumstances, this person, because they didn't want to be like they capitalized on their losses. But that person got screwed, lost their deposit, and the developer sold it to them for cheaper, right? And they were really happy because they got the building they wanted. They get to move in like instantly within 60 days, whatever it is. That is going to be where opportunities are for people. And because there's not going to be any buyers, you'll buy it at resale, but it'll be resale prices, but it'll be brand new.
I had a exact like horror story of people not learning their lesson right now. So I had a guy phone me, I want to say last week. He put down 4 or 5 years ago a deposit on a pre-sale. Lucky for him, he put it down on one of the big developers that's gone belly up here in town.
Mm.
He actually got his deposit back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is the best thing that ever happened to you. You know why he was
I'd
phoning me? He was phoning me to
buy
find
another
out
one?
where he should put his money down on a pre-sale now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you've been renting this whole time. Like, go buy a unit to live in. No, I want this pre-sale thing. I'm like, you haven't learned your lesson. Like, you're dumb. You actually are a success story here because you got your deposit back and you aren't out the 20%.
Yeah.
Like,
you're not my
learn a
client.
lesson.
So I can say this: you're dumb. You're just dumb. You're
Is this
just
guy
stupid? You
this
shouldn't
guy
have
win
that
in the
money.
past?
Let him go and put another deposit down so he can lose that money because that's just.
Well, he
I've
didn't
actually
like
got
it.
this guy in the
We're not
waiting
working
room.
together. We're
I'm going to
not
bring the guy
working
in. I'm going to bring him in. Hold on. Yeah.
And let us shame the hell out of him.
I'm not working with
because-
the guy because he
Shame.
didn't like the fact that I was telling him what TK just said. What
Didn't he
are
just
you
get-
thinking?
Didn't he just get the emotional side? I had a guy recently who told me, but he was a lawyer, and he actually got out of the contract because he found a way out of the contract.
Ooh, he probably ran the contract through ChatGPT and asked it to find a loophole.
Whatever it was, he found a loophole. He got him and his dad and like people that they knew out, and they actually were like, "We want you to sign something that says you can't represent any of the other buyers in the building." He got out. It was a 905 development from a company that was a U.S. company that had never built in the GTA before. So there was something there that they hadn't done properly, and that he was able to get out. Could be a fake story. Could be a fake story. He could have just been telling me that to make it sound good. But this is what he told me, right?
Are you saying clients maybe didn't exactly understand what happened, or maybe they're trying to pump up their own situation to make
young
them
guys,
look
you know what I
the
mean?
better?
They're all like, they're talking to a real estate guy, so it's like, how do you impress him? And it's like, well, got on my pre-construction condo. You know what I mean? Got to my pre-construction condo.
Were you wearing that jacket when you met with him? He was probably intimidated.
I was. And so
I'm still trying to figure out, is it a shirt? Is it a
It's like
house
a-
coat? What is it?
No, it's just a shirt. Yeah, it's just like a button-up shirt, like you would wear.
I
on a
want to
shirt.
find out where I'm going to get a
This
shirt
doesn't
like Daryl.
fit because he's so large. That's
Yeah,
right.
Daryl's shirt is
A little
great.
bit
Oh my
baggier.
This is the
Yeah, you've got the best shirt, Daryl. Obviously.
Obviously. I should have made a hat too.
Well, listen, guys. I know you don't think you're a real estate show anymore, but I thought that was a pretty fun real estate conversation for the last
That's pretty
hour.
good.
So I don't care what
You
anyone
guys are-
says. You guys are still good at talking about real estate, right? So
We're
good.
under
I
the
don't
table.
care.
We're
Yeah.
under the table. So, we'd like to talk about real estate. We'd like to talk about the scams. We'll even talk about Diddy. We'll make sure that anything that's going on right now under the table is being brought up for people from all across the world
Yeah.
to be entertained by. So
That's
yeah,
the clear
check us
difference
out.
between our shows.
Yeah,
is
we're
that
changing
we-
our
You
name
don't talk
next
about
week.
Diddy?
Yeah, pretty much.
Check out
We're-
Under the Table. We got Under Table Podcast. We got Under the Table Podcast clips.
Oh,
We're on Instagram. We're
Whoa.
on all the places.
Spotify,
all the podcasts, Spotify, all the
Apple
podcast
Podcasts.
places. Check us out under the table.
you guys
Next
have a
week,
great
we're
following.
Coming back. We're coming back as the Above Board podcast, just so everybody has a different.
You guys should be above the board. Yeah.
We're trying to get away from you guys, for God's sakes. Can you leave us alone? Jesus.
Well, I'm sure most people that have watched this episode have seen you guys watch your podcast, watch your videos over the years, watch Daryl do his live streams, which are still Daryl. I jump into a lot of those and I'm not in the comments, but I'm watching it. I'm giggling. So I love those things. I think you're
I
doing a
haven't
great
done
job.
it for like 2
I know.
weeks. I've been
I've
busy.
noticed because normally I log into YouTube. You're always live. I'm like, oh, check that out. Not recently.
Yeah, it's a bad time. It's a stupid time, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, it's
What
dinner
was I
time in my house.
Just do it. Just go live whenever you're available.
I try, but it's a lot. But yeah, I'll get back on it. Can I make a little plug for something?
Please.
For if there's anybody left here, TK, are you ready for this? I'm going to announce it here before even on our show, really. Okay. I'm going to see what kind of
Okay,
how many
editor,
people
cut
watch
the
the show.
episode right here. Okay, go
Cut it
for
right
it.
here.
You don't have enough.
Well, I just wanted to tell everybody, like I have a new product out. It's a digital product. It's a web platform, and it's in a beta test right now. I think I've talked to you guys about it over the last few years. It's called shrubs.me. If you want to go check it out, log in, make an account. I hope it works. It's in beta. It's a content sharing hub. Shrub sharing hub. It's really cool. It's like a cross between Linktree, Patreon, and Dropbox.
Whoa.
A little bit of something for everybody. So go check it out. Shrubs.me. If there's people still listening. You guys are hardcore, which means you might like some of us. Do me a favor. Check it out.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on the new launch. I'll definitely check it out as well. Thank you everybody for sticking with us the last hour. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Darryl got a few F-bombs in, which we always knew that he would. So I hope if the kids were listening in the car today, they're going to learn it at some point. Might as well just teach them now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will see you next week. Bye.